The lights of the America's Got Talent stage burned bright, but somehow the young girl standing at the center of it seemed almost invisible at first. She was small, fragile-looking, her dress modest, her shoes slightly worn, and her hands trembling as she held the microphone with both palms, as if it were the only thing anchoring her to the ground. The massive audience buzzed with low chatter, a mixture of curiosity and impatience that often fills the room before an audition begins. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his expression unreadable but clearly guarded. He had seen thousands, no, tens of thousands, of singers walk onto this stage. Many had dreams bigger than their talent. Many had stories meant to distract from voices that couldn't deliver. When the host asked her name, her voice barely carried. She introduced herself softly, revealing she was from a poor neighborhood in the Philippines, that she had grown up singing to escape hunger, fear, and nights when electricity was a luxury. The crowd responded with polite applause, but Simon's face showed no change. He had heard stories like this before. Then came the question that always mattered most. "What will you sing today?" She paused, swallowed hard, and said, "I will sing a song by Miley Cyrus." A ripple of skepticism moved through the room. It was a risky choice, bold, emotional, vocally demanding. Simon raised an eyebrow slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if to say, "This better be good." No one in that moment, not the judges, not the audience, not even the cameras, was prepared for what was about to happen. As the first notes began, something shifted in the air, subtle at first, like the moment before a storm breaks. Her voice emerged quietly, almost fragile, carrying a raw vulnerability that instantly silenced the crowd. There was no backing track to hide behind, no flashy tricks, just her voice, honest and exposed. The opening line floated through the theater, trembling but controlled, and Simon leaned forward without realizing it. The tone was unexpected, rich, textured, and aching with emotion far beyond her years. Each word felt lived in, as though she wasn't singing the song, but confessing it. By the time she reached the first chorus, her voice grew stronger, soaring with a power that contradicted her small frame. The audience's expressions changed one by one, raised eyebrows, widened eyes, hands slowly covering mouths. This wasn't just good. This was rare. Her accent colored the lyrics in a way that made them feel new, more intimate, more real. Simon's skepticism cracked slightly as he exchanged a quick glance with the other judges, who were now sitting upright, fully locked in. The girl closed her eyes as she sang, tears forming but never breaking her focus. It was clear she wasn't performing for applause. She was singing for survival. For every night, she went to bed hungry. For every dream she was told was impossible. The theater, once filled with noise, now felt sacredly still, as if everyone was afraid that even a breath might shatter the moment. Halfway through the song, the transformation was undeniable. Her voice no longer trembled, it commanded. She hit notes that echoed through the room, notes that carried pain, hope, and defiance all at once. The power in her voice seemed to rise from somewhere deep within her, from years of struggle compressed into a single moment. The audience began to react instinctively, gasps, whispers, heads shaking in disbelief. One judge had tears streaming freely now, completely unashamed. Simon Cowell, the man known for crushing dreams with a single sentence, sat frozen. His mouth was slightly open, his eyes fixed on the girl, as if he were seeing something impossible unfold in real time. This was not the voice of a nervous contestant. This was the voice of an artist. When she reached the bridge of the song, she pulled back emotionally, softening her tone until it felt like she was singing directly to each individual in the room. Parents clutched their children. Strangers reached for each other's hands. The camera caught Simon blinking repeatedly, fighting an emotion he rarely allowed himself to show. This was the kind of audition that reminded everyone why this stage existed, not for spectacle, but for moments when pure, undeniable talent breaks through every barrier of poverty, background, and expectation. As the final chorus approached, the girl took a deep breath, and with it came everything she had left. Her voice exploded into the room, powerful yet controlled, reaching a climactic high note that seemed to suspend time itself. The note rang out, flawless and fearless, and when she held it, the audience could no longer contain themselves. Some stood up instinctively before the song had even ended. Tears fell openly now, from the crowd, from the judges, and finally from the girl herself as she released the last word and let the microphone fall slightly from her lips. For a split second, there was silence. Not because people didn't know how to react, but because they needed that moment to breathe again. Then the theater erupted. A thunderous, standing ovation crashed over her like a wave. People screamed, clapped, cried, shouted her name. Simon stood up slowly, deliberately, something he rarely did. His expression was no longer guarded. It was stunned, humbled. The girl stood there shaking, overwhelmed, her hands covering her face as the reality of what she had just done began to sink in. She had walked onto the stage as an overlooked child from poverty. She was now standing as the undeniable center of the world's attention. When the judges finally spoke, their words struggled to keep pace with their emotions. One by one, they praised her not just for her voice, but for the truth she carried within it. They spoke of authenticity, of pain transformed into beauty, of courage that cannot be taught. And then Simon spoke. The room quieted instantly. He admitted, openly, that he had not been ready for her, that he had judged her before she sang a single note, that what she had done was extraordinary. He told her that voices like hers come along once in a lifetime, that money cannot buy that kind of soul, that experience cannot manufacture that kind of emotion. The girl listened through tears, nodding, barely able to believe that the man whose opinion could change lives was speaking about her. When the votes were cast, the result was unanimous. Every single judge said yes. The crowd roared again, louder than before. The girl collapsed into sobs of relief, her dreams no longer fragile hopes, but living, breathing possibilities. As she walked off the stage, her life forever changed. The impact of her audition lingered in the air like an echo that refused to fade. Millions watching around the world would soon replay that moment again and again, not just for the note she hit, but for the story she told without ever needing to explain it. She became a symbol of resilience, proof that talent knows no borders, no bank accounts, no privilege. Simon Cowell sat back down slowly, still visibly shaken, a rare softness in his eyes. He had not been ready for that voice. But then again, no one truly was. That night, a poor Filipino girl didn't just shock AGT. She reminded the world that greatness often arrives quietly, wrapped in humility, waiting for the moment someone finally listens.